Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over a few items and we're going to start with this. I'm assuming it's a mirror frame. It has the press board in the back, but it didn't have the mirror. Maybe the mirror got broken. So I'm going to make a wall hanging out of this. And I'm going to start out by putting 2 coats of the color Caviar on it. And that's just a dull black. That's a Dixie Belle color, but any black would work. And now I'm going to put some drop cloth on this and put a stencil on it. So I thought, and it's risky because to do what I'm doing, because I'm using a large Christmas stencil on this. So it's a little risky because people don't like to store large Christmas items. But I figured this will be a good size to put above your mantle. And this doesn't fit exactly. I have to leave part of the A off, which is fine. That's a separate piece anyway. And then I want to kind of stretch it out by putting some, spreading the lines apart more so that it will cover the whole area. So I'm just using black and green, and I'm not going to make you watch all this, but I'm just using black and green and stenciling this onto the fabric. And a smart viewer told me that you could add some top coat in with your paint when you're doing something that you can't afterwards seal. So I mixed a little top coat in this. And I know I ordered this stencil quite some time ago on Amazon. So I've been on Amazon for a while trying to find it, and I absolutely cannot find this stencil. I was hoping to be able to link that in the description, but any stencil that you like that fits will work. But I think it's always nice when you're decorating a mantle for Christmas that you have a large item like this, especially when it's a sign like this, some sort of wall art, so that it kind of acts as a base for your decor and gives you almost a theme to work off of. But I think it especially gives you a color scheme to work from. And I didn't mention that I went back and put a top coat on my frame and did some light distress. I did the distressing first, and then I added my top coat to finish that off because any chalk paint needs to be sealed. But I really like how that turned out. And anytime that a stencil doesn't fit your project, sometimes you can manipulate it to fit. So always keep that in mind. Now I thrifted this little church here, and I guess you put a tea light in it, or some sort of light. And this is like a dark brown, so this is very dated, being this color. So I'm giving this 2 coats of the color Buttercream, and I paint the inside and out of all 3 pieces. And then after I get 2 coats on that and let it dry, then I give it some distress, and I had to water distress this by just wetting a cloth and wiping over the high spots because I didn't want to sand down to the metal on this. So once I give it 3 coats and do my distressing on it, then I just finish this one off with some clear wax. Now that's all that I did to this that is permanent because I wanted to keep it very versatile. Now I'm going to be using this in a Christmas vignette. So I'm going to add a little wreath to it and put a little bottle tree Christmas tree inside it. Both of which are very easily removed, and then you can still use your church when Christmas is over. And now I have this little angel, and it is cast iron. but it's just a brown color. This is not old. It's a replica, and this brown color just doesn't sell well. So I always have to paint these to sell them. And this one I'm putting 2 coats of the color buttercream, and I'll use a wet cloth and distress it also, and then I will put my clear wax on it, and that's all that I did to this one, and I think that made a really big difference in this one. And then I've had this urn a while that I thrifted a while back, and it's just metal. It isn't any kind of bronze or anything like that. It's just brown. So this one needs to be painted, and I feel like it needs some extra design on it. And so I'm going to put this fleur-de-lis on it. And this is part of, I think it's called the farmhouse mold from IOD. It is definitely an IOD mold. So I'm going to just do this small fleur-de-lis. And I'm going to use a straight edge on this one. I'm using the DAS clay, but I'm going to use a straight edge to kind of press this in and rake the excess off, because that helps cut it off there and clean up your edges. But when I first tried to do this, I didn't really realize what I was doing, didn't know how to do it right. But I would hold my straight edge kind of up and down, and I'll show you that here in a second. But I would hold it up and down, and it would just try to rake out my clay. But see, laying it down like this works really well. It really works well. But now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you hold it up and down. See, it kind of rakes that out. See how it's pulling it up there? So if you'll just lay your, whatever you're using to clean up your edges, if you'll just lay it down and rake it across, it won't try to pull it out of your mold. I hope that helps, because it really did make a big difference when I learned that. But see how it cleaned those edges up. And I think this mold is one that you have to order from Etsy. I wasn't able to find it on Amazon. I think that I originally bought it from an Etsy dealer. So now I'm just going to take my Titebond glue and just glue that onto this little urn. And I just give it maybe about 30 minutes to take hold. And then I go over this entire piece with 2 coats, again, of the color buttercream. And you don't have to wait on these molds to dry completely before you paint them, because they do really well to paint them wet, and then they'll just dry overnight after you've done your painting. So I give this 2 coats of the color buttercream, and then I use my damp cloth and wet distress this one. And then give this a clear coat, and I just use clear wax on this one also. Now for all of these items, I'm going to put a hang tag on them. So I'm going to show you some quick ways or a quick way to make multiple hang tags, so that all you'll have to do is just take one out and add to it. Because what I do, and I'm showing you my mat here, this is called Faux Page, and it is a silicone mat. I actually got it, was able to buy 2 together, and they're very large, and but they are wonderful to craft on. I just recently found those, and you can let paint dry overnight, and it will still clean off very easily. So just with some soapy water. And also the stays on ink. You can get stays on ink on it, and that comes off easily also. So to make several hang tags, so that I can just kind of reach in and get one of the hang tags out and then decorate it up. I like to start with something that is large a lot of times, if I'm not going to tear my hang tags. And this folder is perfect for that. So I want to keep my colors neutral when I do this, because then I can just add the color on, and I can just reach in and I keep these in a little basket, and I can just reach in and get one out that's the size that I want, because we're just going to do different sizes here. And then I can layer whatever I want on the top of it, and then these neutral colors won't limit it. So when you're doing several like this at one time, I think it's a good idea to use neutral colors. Obviously, if you're doing just one at a time, you wouldn't have to have this neutral base. But like I said, I'm going to do several here. So I'm just showing you a quick way to get these done. And if you haven't noticed, I'm using just one of these cheap little sandwich bags that doesn't have the zipper on it. And I put my hand inside that when I decoupage, and then you can smooth that out. You don't have to use saran wrap. So it's just an easier way, because to me it's kind of a pain to get the saran wrap out and tear some off. And you can usually get these little sandwich bags at an inexpensive price. So I just think that that's a good little tip, just to keep a little box of those handy. So now I'm just taking my paper cutter and just cutting some strips. And as you can see, I'm not measuring anything. I'm just very quickly cutting these out. And I like to cut the border from the outer edge off, especially on these music sheets, because I just don't think that that's very attractive on my tags. So I cut those off, and then the rest I'm just kind of deciding as I go what size I want them. Nothing is going to be measured. You're just going to cut several, and you want different sizes, because then you can look at your project and decide what size tag you want, and just grab the size that you want and decorate it up. So this is just not only does using these folders and putting some decoupage over the top of them thicken them up somewhat, make them sturdier. But like I said, it just kind of dresses both sides up, and then you can layer whatever you want over the top of that. So I hope this helps, because sometimes I feel like we make the hang tags harder than they have to be. And you don't have to think about them. You just start with your base and just layer things that kind of go color-wise with what item you're putting it on, or put a stamp on it that would go with your item. So it's just, you don't really need to think about these. Just keep them handy so that you can just throw one together when you need it. And I make some up ahead of time. I go ahead and finish several, and then just find something that it will coordinate with. But if you have time, it's just really easy to grab it and go ahead and put the colors and the stamp that you need on for that particular item. So this just cuts down the time a lot, and I was just hoping that would help you guys. So now that I have all these cut up, then all I need to do is start working on my tags that go with these particular items. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and antique the edges of my cards. Now, you don't have to do that. That's totally up to you. I just like the look of having the antiquing ink on the edges. So it just saves me time if I go ahead and do that ahead of time. But what I'm layering over the top of them, I'm going to have to do those as I go, obviously, but I'll already have that done at least. Now it's ready for me to just layer things on it that I think will go with the item. And this one here is going on my church. So I put a little gingham on there since I have the gingham ribbon in the wreath. But then I'll just finish the rest of mine and add those to my projects. So now, instead of adding an ornament to the end of this video, I'm just going to show you how you can take a simple salt shaker and turn it into an angel with just a few little easy steps. We're just wanting to create here the illusion of an angel. So I cut a piece of stiffened fabric, and now I'm layering some lace over the top of it. And obviously that will be my wings. And so once I layer the lace over the top of this and cut the remaining lace off, then, like I said, these will be my wings. And then I'm going to add some decoupage to the wings and put some shimmery glitter on this. And that will just kind of, I feel like, make it go more with the salt shaker, because I feel like these wings are a little bit too rustic for the salt shaker. So I like to use these little pins here that I get at the Dollar Tree in the automotive section to do my glitter in, because glitter can make such a mess. So I put that on the wings, and I went ahead and made two sets of those wings, because I'm going to use this little salt shaker also. And like I said, this is going to be such a simple little angel. Both of these are going to be very simple. So, so what I'm going to do with these is once I put my glitter on these and let that dry well, then I'm going to take some string and tie around the center of my angel wings. So that's going to kind of pucker that together in the center and just make it look more like wings, I think. And then I'll have something to tie around the neck there. And as you can see on this one, I used just a little drawer pull for the head. And I just stuck that down in there, added some hot glue and stuck it down in there. And now I can tie these little wings on and just let some ribbon hang from around the neck. And that's a very, very simple way to add some little angels. And these are great for a tiered tray, or any area where you just need a little something. And maybe you just want to dress your kitchen up in one little spot, and these little angels are just a quick, easy way to do that. And I know that didn't feel much like a craft, but like I said, just a little quick, I guess you could call this one more of a tip. And you could use all different styles of salt and pepper shakers. I just think the ones that are a little bit more dressy look better for angels. And as you can see, there are my hang tags that I made to go along with my projects. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.